Let me start with an uncomfortable truth. Most of us have been trying to get life to love us back by gripping it harder. We micromanage schedules, partners, symptoms, money, outcomes. We twist our attention into knots and tell ourselves this is devotion, this is discipline, this is how you make reality behave. And then, quietly, predictably, the opposite happens. The partner withdraws, the money thins, the body tightens, the creativity dries up. Why? Because grasping is a spiritual vote of no confidence. It says, there is no deeper source. There is only me, my plans, my fear, and my will. And reality, hearing the verdict, respectfully steps back. Life will not force its way into a clenched fist. The paradox is simple, exact, and counterintuitive. Health, supply, companionship, clarity, these are not external objects to be captured. They are qualities of the infinite, already present, seeking expression through you. The more you chase them as separate things, the more you affirm separateness. The more you release them to the source, turn inward, and realize the living presence, the more they show up as natural consequences, like fruit that appears because the tree is rooted, not because the branch is begged. So let's try a different way. Not passive, not lazy, not naive, radically honest. We stop bargaining for outcomes. We stop performing for blessings. We stop using spiritual language as a vending machine code. We seek one thing only, the realized presence, the felt, practical, experiential nearness of what breathes us. Everything else becomes overflow. The signature pattern of grasping. Consider 3 everyday dramas. 1. Love under surveillance. A woman checks her partner's phone logs, tone analyzes texts, curates conversations like a publicist polishing a scandal. She calls it care. It is fear. The more she manages love, the more love gasps for air. 2. Money under suspicion. A freelancer watches the bank app like a heartbeat monitor. Every dinner feels like betrayal. Every generous impulse, a threat. He calls it responsibility. It is mistrust, and mistrust is a sieve. It leaks opportunity. 3. Health under interrogation. A man Googles symptoms until dawn, builds spreadsheets for supplements, stacks affirmations like sandbags. He calls it diligence. It is war. And the nervous system, wired to his warring mind, never gets to stand down. In all 3, the same hidden geometry appears. I am here. Good is out there. I must secure it by will. But health, supply, love, wisdom are not out there. They are in here as qualities of the presence. The oak is in the acorn. The river is in the spring. Your task is not to lasso clouds. It is to open the aquifer, turning from outcome to presence. So how do we actually do this? Not with slogans, with a practice of turning. Turning is the art of letting attention rest where life is already faithful. It is the simple, courageous movement from the symptom to the source, from the request to the revealer, from the object of desire to the one who makes desire possible. Here is the frame we'll return to again and again. 1. Acknowledge the grasp. I'm afraid. I'm trying to control. No shame. Just clarity. 2. Release the object. I'm not going to negotiate a specific outcome. Place it on the altar, gently, honestly. 3. Seek the presence. Reveal yourself. Not as a mantra to force an effect, but as an opening to what is already true. 4. Wait for reality to answer. This answer is not a paragraph in your head. It's a shift in felt sense, ease, warmth, quiet certainty. 5. Act from that felt center. Make the call, write the page, see the doctor, rest the body, but move from presence, not panic. It sounds simple. It is not easy. We are used to the chemistry of adrenaline. We are attached to the seduction of control. But the first breath of the presence makes the trade obvious. The felt reality of I am is better than any high your fear can brew. Case study, the possessive heart. Lena loved Kabir. The love was clean at first, a wide sky. Then insecurity crept in. and she began to curate the relationship. Subtle tests, strategic silences, 1,000 small protections that made intimacy feel like an airport security line. She did not intend to kill the romance. She intended to keep it safe. But love does not survive in a bag with no air. One evening, exhausted by the vigilance, she sat on the floor. "I am choking this," she whispered. She closed her eyes. Not to visualize outcomes, marriage, babies, vows, but to seek the one who makes love possible. She did not say, "Bring Kabir back to me." She said, "Reveal yourself. If love is a presence and not a possession, let me feel it." First came resistance, then boredom, then an ache where the performance used to be, and then, lightly, almost shyly, warmth. Not fireworks, not a mystical movie, just warmth and a sense that she was not empty. The next day, her texts were simple. Her listening was gentle. Her humor returned. She wasn't managing Kabir. She was radiating from a source he could finally feel. The air came back. Love, free, not owned, could breathe. Case study: the freelance desert. Aaron believed that scarcity was reality and faith was garnish. He revered the grind, but he was grinding his soul. He took projects he disliked and said yes with a voice that tasted like metal. He prayed with spreadsheets. A mentor offered a rude grace. For 1 week, stop trying to manifest money. Seek the presence first, then act. He didn't like it. He tried it anyway. Mornings, 15 minutes. Reveal yourself. Midday, 3 breaths. You are here. Evenings, thank you for what I missed seeing. On day 4, in that quiet after the breath, an unforced idea surfaced. Email Layla, a past client he genuinely enjoyed. Not to pitch, to ask, "How are you? Anything fun on your plate?" He wrote from warmth, not hunger. She replied, "Strangely perfect timing. I need help on a project that sounds like you." It wasn't magic. It was alignment. The river moved because a rock rolled aside. Case study: the health war. Ravi had been at war with his body for 3 years. Flares, fatigue, fear. He counted wins as lab numbers and losses as symptoms, and he kept score with holy fervor. He was valiant and weary. A friend said, "What if you let yourself feel held, even while you heal?" He didn't trust the phrasing. Held by what? But he was tired enough to try. He kept his doctor, he kept his meds, and he added 3 daily pauses, 1 minute each, to say nothing except, "I can't do this alone. If there is a presence, meet me where I am." On a Tuesday morning he felt it. Not a cure, but a presence behind the pain. He cried like a child who realizes the adult is back in the room. Over months, his flares shortened. His decision-making improved. He noticed what helped and what didn't without dramatizing either. The numbers followed the nervous system, not the other way around. Health grew in the soil of being held. What the presence feels like. People ask, "How will I know?" The mind wants a certification, visions, voices, a stamp. But the presence is usually quieter, braver, more ordinary. A warmth in the chest that arrives without a reason. A softening in the jaw, as if the day unclenched. A certainty without a sentence. The hum behind sound, a silence that is not the absence of noise but a fullness that includes it. An impulse to do the next kind thing without theater or scorekeeping. Don't evaluate it by thrills. Evaluate it by fruit. Does your tone become kinder? Do you find the precise word faster and the last word slower? Do you sense timing? When to wait? When to move? The presence is not a stunt. It's a climate. The hourly return. The world's noise lures you back into vertical breath and tight shoulders. That's why the hourly return matters. Once an hour, one breath that takes you from forehead to heart, one whisper, "Here you are." One moment of letting the belly be heavy and the spine be honest. If you forget 6 hours in a row and remember in the 7th, celebrate the 7th. You're training not perfection, but orientation. working with requests, without bargaining. But can I ask for things? Ask for anything. Cry, confess, laugh, plead. The presence does not require polite guests. Just notice when your asking turns into bargaining, when you turn spiritual practice into a slot machine. When you feel that edge, pause. Place the ask on the altar. Return to reveal yourself. Not to earn a yes, but to remember that the yes you think you need is smaller than the reality that holds you. Helping others without becoming their fix. When a friend asks for help, we often compensate with advice. Advice has its hour, but presence has its authority. Listen with your face, not just your ears. Let their story land. Then, quietly, within yourself, say, "Reveal yourself here." Sometimes a clear sentence will rise and ask to be spoken. Sometimes silence is the truest medicine. Don't manufacture comfort. Let comfort arrive. Households as temples, not stages. If your home feels tense, don't weaponize scripture. Don't lecture your children with truths they didn't ask for. Sit in the middle of that ordinary room. Notice the dust, the shoes, the dishes. Say, "Reveal yourself here." Feel your shoulders descend. Feel the room warm by 2 degrees. Then do one simple act. Wash a pan, fold a shirt, cut fruit, and do it like a priest lighting a candle. The presence loves disguised altars. Work as an overflow, not a proving ground. Let your craft, business, art, care, become the overflow of presence. Show up, begin before you feel ready. Do one honest unit of work. When you lose the thread, return to the breath. When you complete the unit, stop and thank the giver before you judge the gift. This keeps you from becoming the false owner of your talent. Desire without chains. Desire is not the enemy. Desire is how life pulls you forward. The enemy is the chain, the story that says, "Until I get X, I cannot be." Practice desire without chains. Name the desire. Place it on the altar. Seek the presence. Act on the next clear step. Release the timetable. Give thanks for any form of the good that arrives, even if it arrives wearing a different name. You become paradoxically more effective this way because you are not spending half your willpower arguing with the clock. Measuring your love for truth. How do I know if I really value this? By the time you give it. Show me your calendar, and I'll show you your altar. You don't need marathon sits. You need faithful returns, 10 minutes in the morning, 1 minute each hour, 5 minutes at night. If those small flames keep burning, the room lights up. When nothing happens, sometimes you sit, and the only thing you meet is your noise. Good. You are meeting the guard dog at the gate. You don't have to argue with it. Sit with your noise the way you would sit with a sad child, present, patient, not trying to win. Say, "I'm here." The presence meets you not at your performance, but at your honesty. Living with a risen, not imagined, presence. There is a difference between ideas about God and a felt God. Ideas can inform. Only presence transforms. The shift is subtle and public. Your laugh deepens. Your anger shortens. Your courage stops needing applause. Your tenderness stops needing credit. People may ask what changed. You may not have a headline. You'll just know you're living from a different floor. The only demonstration. If you remember one sentence, remember this. There is only one demonstration to make, the realized presence. When the presence is realized, the forms that fit your life appear with a lightness that feels like grace, not like conquest. Supply comes because supply is a way the presence likes to be kind. Companionship comes because companionship is a way the presence likes to be near. Health comes because life loves to be alive. We don't chase the shadows. We stand under the light. A week-long immersion day 1. Surrender the outcome. Morning, 10 minutes. Reveal yourself. Action. Do one necessary task purely, no bargaining. Night. Name 3 unforced goods that happened. Day 2. Hourly return. Every hour, 1 breath. Here you are. Action. 1 act of quiet generosity no one will see. Day 3. Body as sanctuary. Midday. 3 minutes. Notice breath in belly, heart, throat. Action. Ask the body, what would feel kind? Do that. Day 4. Relationships as altars. Before a conversation, reveal yourself between us. Action. Listen 20% longer than you usually do. Day 5. Work as overflow. Set a 45-minute focus block. Begin with, I'm available. Action. Ship one honest thing. No drama. Day 6. Money as trust practice. Before checking balances, source before numbers. Action. One generous gesture that doesn't scare you. Day 7. Gratitude as anchoring. Evening. Write a 1-paragraph letter to the presence about your week. Include the parts that didn't go well. Thank them for teaching you to stay. Repeat. Don't graduate. Deepen. When you're asked to lead. If you find yourself guiding a family, a team, a class, remember, presence scales by resonance, not force. Prepare by realizing the presence first. Go in without agenda, but with a clear center. Say little until the inner nudge prompts words. And when the nudge says, enough, stop, even if your outline has unspoken bullets. Authority belongs to the presence, not your slides. A word about the world. Yes, the headlines crackle. Yes, grief is real. Presence is not a sedative, it is a strengthener. It gives you steady eyes and a soft mouth. It lets you hold a sign without hating with it. It lets you write a letter that can be heard. It lets you show up long after novelty has left the movement. Peace that is realized loves to work. The signature click. There will be moments, unpredictable, unmistakable, when the presence announces itself with a click. The room feels lowered onto its true foundation. You are held, and because you are held, you can hold. These moments are not trophies. Don't chase them. Let them tune you, then keep walking. The paradox fulfilled. We end where we began. Grasping is a vote against trust. It tells life, you are not enough. Letting go is not apathy. It is right placement. It says, I will root in what is real, then act from there. And reality responds. Not always by decorating your plan, but by unfolding a wiser one that fits your shape and serves more than your appetite. So we practice. Release the object. Seek the presence. Wait for the answer that feels like quiet strength. Act from that strength. Repeat. You will discover, perhaps with laughter, that the good you begged for had been circling all along, waiting for a landing strip. Your surrender built the runway. We keep saying let go. But what does letting go actually feel like? It's not an intellectual act. It's not a gesture of defeat. It is the softest movement of awareness from the surface of control into the quiet middle of being. When you really let go, you don't drop the object. You drop the tension that was distorting your view of it. The child is still your child. The job is still your job. The body is still your body. But your relationship to them changes from ownership to partnership, from fear to flow. The architecture of inner release. Visualize a clenched fist. Inside that fist, you've hidden a single grain of sand you call security. The tighter you squeeze, the more it grinds the skin. Open the hand, and suddenly you see. The sand was never the treasure. The open palm was. Every tension in you has its own architecture. Control hides under perfectionism. Fear hides under planning. Guilt hides under endless helping. Doubt hides under study. Letting go dismantles those architectures, one brick at a time. You don't demolish them violently. You allow light through the cracks. When enough light enters, the structure no longer holds. That is what mystical writers called grace, not a divine bribe, but the natural physics of openness. Story. The teacher who couldn't sleep Arya was a meditation teacher. The irony writes itself. Yet she hadn't slept a full night in 2 years. Every evening she practiced relaxing, which is the hardest thing to do on purpose. One night, out of options, she stopped practicing altogether. She whispered, "If you are real, breathe for me." No technique, just permission. The next thing she remembered was morning light. Sleep had crept in through the door that striving had slammed. When people asked what cured her insomnia, she said, "I stopped inviting sleep. I invited God." She didn't mean a man in the sky. She meant the pulse that moves leaves without anxiety. When faith meets function, letting go does not mean you stop using common sense. The presence loves logic. It created it. If your car runs out of fuel, you refill it. If your body aches, you rest it or treat it. But you do these acts from trust, not terror. You refill because supply flows through you, not because scarcity is stalking you. You rest because wholeness is true, not because fragility defines you. Faith and function are not rivals. Function is faith with sleeves rolled up. The laboratory of relationships. Every relationship is a lab where the universe tests how much reality you can love without trying to own it. A friend drifts away. A colleague takes credit. A child rebels. Each event asks the same exam question. Can you still recognize the presence in them while the mask offends you? Most people answer, not yet. And that's fine. The presence doesn't grade. It teaches by repetition. The same lesson will arrive with a new face until love is seen as not personal. When you release the need to fix others, they start healing in your company, not because you said the right thing, but because you stop projecting noise. Silence heals faster than sermons. Story. The Father and the Doorway. A father waited up for his teenage son who was late again. Anger was loading in the chamber, lectures rehearsed. He remembered something he'd heard. Your child is not your property, but the presence of God borrowing your address. He took a breath and whispered, "Reveal yourself here." When the boy walked in, the father simply said, "I'm glad you're safe. Sit down." No punishment, no sermon. They talked for 2 hours, the first real talk in years. That night both slept without walls. Control could never have built that bridge. Presence did, in silence, between two tired hearts. Money as a mirror of trust. We pretend money is metal and math, but it's really emotion in disguise. It shows you exactly how much you trust circulation. If you hoard, money obeys your fear and stops moving. If you waste, money obeys your carelessness and leaves you to learn balance. If you respect its rhythm, give, receive, flow, it becomes a language of gratitude. Letting go financially doesn't mean recklessness. It means right relationship. Before every transaction, whisper, "Let this move as love would move." Then pay or decline or gift, from clarity, not craving. Watch how the numbers begin to dance again. Story. The artist who burned his work. Kai was a painter who hadn't sold a canvas in 3 years. He prayed for success, cursed his luck, tried every algorithm. Finally, one dawn, he carried 10 old canvases to the beach and burned them. Not in anger, but as a release ceremony. He said, "These were offerings that never reached the altar." The fire answered with silence. A month later, a stranger commissioned him to paint murals at a children's hospital. His first paid work in years wasn't about prestige. It was about light in hallways where pain lived. He cried on the first day, not for the money, but for the meaning. When he stopped painting to be seen, his work became sight. The science of waiting. Waiting is not empty time. Waiting is the interval where the ego dissolves enough for wisdom to fit. In that gap, things rearrange, often invisibly, until visible alignment is safe. Impatience is like opening the oven every minute to see if the bread has risen. Faith is leaving it closed because you can smell the promise. When nothing seems to move, ask, is there actually no progress? Or am I watching soil and expecting fruit? Trust the soil. The roots are the real miracle. When the presence becomes habitual. At first, you practice presence the way you practice scales. Then something switches. Presence begins to practice you. You find yourself pausing before speaking without planning to. You sense timing that saves days of detour. You forgive before offense matures. That's when you know the consciousness has flipped from visitor to resident. You've become a living prayer. words optional. Leadership without ego. True leadership is invisible influence, born from inner coherence. The presence in one steady person can stabilize a room of confusion faster than any strategy deck. Before your next meeting, retreat for 60 seconds. Whisper, "Reveal yourself through me." Then enter quietly. Your calm is your curriculum. People may never know why they relax around you, but they'll do better work because of it. Grief as doorway, not defeat. Loss feels like subtraction, but spiritually it's an excavation for deeper presence. When someone you love leaves this form, the ego mourns the role they played. The soul discovers the essence never left. Sit with grief like you'd sit with a wise elder. No small talk, just presence. Cry. Let the cry become a chant. Then listen beneath the sob for that subtle whisper. I am still here. It won't erase the ache. It will make the ache holy. Story: The Widow and the Bird. After 30 years of marriage, Mira's husband died suddenly. Weeks later she sat in the garden, numb. A small bird landed near her foot and didn't fly away. She felt absurdly that it was him. Her mind dismissed it. Her tears confirmed it. In that instant, she realized the message wasn't about reincarnation. It was about continuity. Love doesn't vanish. It changes accent. That day, she stopped saying, "I lost him." She started saying, "He's invisible now, but not gone." Creativity as prayer. Every creative act is a sacrament of letting go. You receive an impulse. You trust it enough to move your hand. You release ownership the moment it leaves your mouth, pen, or brush. Then something larger than your plan finishes the piece. To create from ego is to fear criticism. To create from presence is to marvel that anything wants to be born through you at all. Before you write, paint, cook, design, pause. Say, "Use me." Then move. What flows will surprise you. Conflict and the inner quiet. When conflict arises, remember, you cannot fight darkness with more darkness. If you need to confront, confront from centered heat, not scattered sparks. Breathe once, twice, then ask, what would love sound like if it were firm? Speak that. You'll notice arguments collapse faster, because truth spoken from presence carries no toxin. The paradox revisited. We've walked through relationships, work, money, health, grief, creation, leadership. Different scenes, one law, grasping contracts. Presence expands. You don't earn harmony, you reveal it by ceasing to obstruct it. The mystic isn't someone who escapes the world. The mystic is someone who finally sees the world as it truly lives, breathing with, not against, the infinite. The daily cadence. Morning. Sit 15 minutes. Whisper. Reveal yourself. Don't decorate the silence. Midday. Stop in the chaos. One breath. You are here. Evening. Recall where you forgot and where you remembered. Give thanks for both. This rhythm rewires the nervous system for trust. Soon, trust becomes the default, not the discipline. The gift you give the world. When you realize presence, you stop being a consumer of light and become a source of it. You don't even have to talk about spirituality. Your tone, patience, timing, humor. These become sermons the world can hear. Every realized being expands the planetary nervous system a little more. You are not small. You are a relay of the infinite. Each calm breath you take in traffic transmits calm to thousands you'll never meet. The final surrender. There will come a day when you look around and realize everything you tried to manage is moving beautifully without your interference. That day, gratitude replaces ambition. You no longer chase miracles. You notice them occurring constantly. You still set goals, but they're lighter, guided, less personal. You still plan, but you leave margins for grace. You still dream, but the dream serves the whole, not the whole in you. This is freedom without fanfare. This is letting go fulfilled. We've spoken of letting go. Now we'll walk through what happens after you've let go. When the river of the presence begins to carry you, How do you live without losing balance? How do you serve without turning the service into a new grasping? The moment after surrender. There is always a hush right after genuine surrender, a quiet so wide it almost frightens the mind. You may wonder, have I given up too much? But that silence isn't absence. It's space making room for the infinite. It's like a seed split open underground. To the eye, it looks like destruction. To life, it's the only way forward. Stay in that hush. Don't rush to fill it with plans. The presence is recalibrating your orbit. 2. The ego's last tricks. When ego senses dissolution, it doesn't surrender politely. It negotiates. It says, fine, you can be spiritual, but keep me as project manager. It will use new spiritual language for old control, alignment, manifesting, energetic boundaries. Listen gently. Each word is innocent until it becomes armor. Your practice now is vigilance without violence. Notice the rebranding of fear. Smile at it. It will fade when no longer believed. 3. The unseen network of grace. Every time you return to presence, a signal moves through the invisible web of life. Someone miles away feels a sudden calm. A stranger drives slower. A nurse remembers kindness. Grace is a network, not a reward. So never think your small moment of stillness is wasted. Stillness is the infrastructure of harmony. 4. Advanced practice, the transparent self. Begin to live as transparency. Imagine your thoughts like wind through glass. Nothing sticks. Compliments pass, criticism passes, desire passes. Behind all of it, light stays unchanged. This is not numbness. It's freedom from turbulence. You still feel, you still love, but feelings no longer drown you. They move through you, singing. Try it now. Recall a worry, breathe once, and picture it as vapor in sunlight. Nothing to fix, just brightness. That brightness is your truest identity. 5. Work that heals. When presence runs your actions, work stops being labor and becomes liturgy. An accountant balancing numbers can become a priest of order. A chef chopping onions can become a monk of fragrance. A coder can become a composer of clarity. Ask each morning, how can love express through my competence today? Then let excellence itself become your meditation. 6. Community as consciousness. As more people live from presence, a collective shift begins quietly. Not revolutions with flags, but revolutions of nervous systems. Meetings shorten because intuition replaces argument. Nations heal faster because empathy becomes policy. You don't have to orchestrate this. Each person awakening adds wattage to the field. Your peace is geopolitical power in disguise. 7. The cosmic perspective. The stars above you are not distant. They are the outer crust of the same fire within you. When you realize presence, galaxies feel domestic. You start to sense that evolution itself is God, learning to recognize its own reflection through eyes, wings, circuits, oceans. You are not a spectator of the cosmos. You are one of its current thoughts, awake to itself. To chase outcomes in that context is almost comedic. Better to laugh softly, bow, and say, all right, source, lead on. 8. The daily integration mantra. When confusion returns, and it will, say slowly, I am the witnessing presence through which life happens. I trust the choreography of the unseen. I allow, I act, I rest. Repeat until your breath aligns with the words. Then drop the words and let breath continue the prayer. 9. Story. The pilot in the storm. A commercial pilot once described flying through violent clouds. The instrument screamed, the plane shook, visibility 0. Training said, don't chase the horizon, trust the compass. He did. Minutes later, the jet burst through into clear blue. Above the storm, everything was calm. Presence is that altitude. The turbulence is real, but it's not the sky. Your task is not to end storms, but to fly by inner instruments, intuition, peace, quiet knowing. 10. Forgiveness as frequency. Reset. To forgive is not to excuse, it is to unplug from poison. Every resentment you release frees bandwidth for grace. Try this. Visualize the person who hurt you. Say inwardly, I release you to the same presence that heals me. Feel the weight drop an inch. That inch of lightness is prayer fulfilled. The moment after surrender. There is always a hush right after genuine surrender, a quiet so wide it almost frightens the mind. You may wonder, have I given up too much? But that silence isn't absence. It's space making room for the infinite. It's like a seed split open underground. To the eye, it looks like destruction. To life, it's the only way forward. Stay in that hush. Don't rush to fill it with plans. The presence is recalibrating your orbit. 2. The ego's last tricks. When ego senses dissolution, it doesn't surrender politely. It negotiates. It says, fine, you can be spiritual, but keep me as project manager. It will use new spiritual language for old control, alignment, manifesting, energetic boundaries. Listen gently. Each word is innocent until it becomes armor. Your practice now is vigilance without violence. Notice the rebranding of fear. Smile at it. It will fade when no longer believed. 3. The unseen network of grace. Every time you return to presence, a signal moves through the invisible web of life. Someone miles away feels a sudden calm. A stranger drives slower. A nurse remembers kindness. Grace is a network, not a reward. So never think your small moment of stillness is wasted. Stillness is the infrastructure of harmony. 4. Advanced practice, the transparent self. Begin to live as transparency. Imagine your thoughts like wind through glass. Nothing sticks. Compliments pass, criticism passes, desire passes. Behind all of it, light stays unchanged. This is not numbness. It's freedom from turbulence. You still feel, you still love, but feelings no longer drown you. They move through you, singing. Try it now. Recall a worry, breathe once, and picture it as vapor in sunlight. Nothing to fix, just brightness. That brightness is your truest identity. 5. Work that heals. When presence runs your actions, work stops being labor and becomes liturgy. An accountant balancing numbers can become a priest of order. A chef chopping onions can become a monk of fragrance. A coder can become a composer of clarity. Ask each morning, how can love express through my competence today? Then let excellence itself become your meditation. 6. Community as consciousness. As more people live from presence, a collective shift begins quietly. Not revolutions with flags, but revolutions of nervous systems. Meetings shorten because intuition replaces argument. Nations heal faster because empathy becomes policy. You don't have to orchestrate this. Each person awakening adds wattage to the field. Your peace is geopolitical power in disguise. 7. The cosmic perspective. The stars above you are not distant. They are the outer crust of the same fire within you. When you realize presence, galaxies feel domestic. You start to sense that evolution itself is God, learning to recognize its own reflection through eyes, wings, circuits, oceans. You are not a spectator of the cosmos. You are one of its current thoughts, awake to itself. To chase outcomes in that context is almost comedic. Better to laugh softly, bow, and say, all right, source, lead on. 8. The daily integration mantra. When confusion returns, and it will, say slowly, I am the witnessing presence through which life happens. I trust the choreography of the unseen. I allow, I act, I rest. Repeat until your breath aligns with the words. Then drop the words and let breath continue the prayer. 9. Story. The pilot in the storm. A commercial pilot once described flying through violent clouds. The instrument screamed, the plane shook, visibility 0. Training said, don't chase the horizon, trust the compass. He did. Minutes later, the jet burst through into clear blue. Above the storm, everything was calm. Presence is that altitude. The turbulence is real, but it's not the sky. Your task is not to end storms, but to fly by inner instruments, intuition, peace, quiet knowing. 10. Forgiveness as frequency. Reset. To forgive is not to excuse, it is to unplug from poison. Every resentment you release frees bandwidth for grace. Try this. Visualize the person who hurt you. Say inwardly, I release you to the same presence that heals me. Feel the weight drop an inch. That inch of lightness is prayer fulfilled. A deeper. Look at love. Love is not an emotion, it's an ontology. The fact that everything is already connected. When you feel love, you're just catching up to that fact. To fall in love is to briefly remember reality. To stay in love is to stop forgetting. Every act of attention is love disguised. Look at anything long enough with gentleness, and it reveals its holiness. Even a cracked cup, even a weary face. 12. The return cycle. After enlightenment moments, the world will test your new altitude. Traffic jams, old triggers, noise. These are invitations, not regressions. Each test asks, can you keep the lamp lit while walking through wind? Answer by breathing once and smiling. That smile is the sign you remember. Storms are weather, not identity. 13. Service without self-loss. Presence will push you to serve, but service doesn't mean martyrdom, it means availability without depletion. Before helping, center. Reveal yourself through this act. Then you'll notice miracles of precision, the right word, the right timing, the right restraint. That's divine efficiency. 14. Silence as technology. Silence is not the absence of sound, it's the operating system of the universe. When you stop talking internally, you upgrade connectivity. Every insight, every synchronicity downloads faster. Schedule silence like oxygen. You'll discover that productivity built on stillness outpaces hustle built on caffeine. 15. When presence speaks. Sometimes presence gives direct instruction. A phrase, an image, a pull. Test it by texture. Does it arrive with peace or pressure? Presence never shouts, it hums. If it feels warm, grounded, non-urgent yet clear, follow it. That's guidance, not impulse. 16. A final story. The Old Gardener. An old gardener tended the same park for 40 years. When asked why the flowers never failed, he said, I don't grow them. I listen to them. They tell me when they're thirsty. Presence turns life into that kind of listening. You stop forcing outcomes. You start participating in rhythms. And everything you touch begins to bloom out of recognition, not manipulation. 17. The ultimate realization. Eventually, the sentence changes from I have God to I am the awareness through which God knows itself. That's not arrogance, it's anatomy. Divinity isn't visiting, it's remembering. From there, fear cannot convince you again. You might still feel it, but you'll see through it like a movie projected on sunlight. 18. The world made whole. When enough individuals live this way, war loses fuel. Commerce becomes generosity with spreadsheets. Art becomes collective therapy. Politics becomes stewardship. That's not utopia. That's sanity returning home. And it begins with one person choosing presence, you. 19. Living the risen life. You still pay bills, you still age, you still laugh at memes, but something essential has changed. You are no longer inside the storm. The storm is inside your sky. You plan lightly, love fiercely, rest often. You don't chase proof because every breath feels like one. This is resurrection, not after death, but within life, over and over again. 20. The final prayer of recognition. Beloved presence, I release every grasp. I welcome every wave. I stand transparent, usable, willing. Express through me your quiet perfection. Let my days be instruments of grace. Let my rest be testimony of trust. Let my words be windows, not walls. And when I forget, remind me with gentleness. Pause. Breathe. There. That warmth? That's the answer already given. If this journey helped you breathe, reflect, or trust a little deeper, subscribe now. Each week we explore presence, not as theory, but as a living rhythm for real life. Like this video if it brought calm or clarity. Comment one insight you'll practice starting today. Share it with someone who's been chasing peace the hard way. Remember, stop chasing, start receiving. The moment you release the grip, life grips you back.